I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 125 of the Parenting Autism podcast. Thank you for listening today, and we're bringing you more juicy details of the life and times of Chris and Sandy Coulter.
And Bryce.
Oh, yeah. It is about Bryce.
It is kind of about Bryce and us, but we can't forget Bryce.
Correctamundo.
So anyway.
Yep.
So today's topics primarily will be about the Family Cafe conference that we attended earlier this month. Mm-hmm. Today is June 30th, and we went 2 weekends ago. So we do a podcast that reaches internationally, but I understand that this particular podcast may be more directed toward families who live in our state, the state of Florida, since the Family Cafe is something that's put on by our governor and by a lot of agencies within the state of Florida. But I believe it should also pique the curiosity and the interest of families in other states of the United States and other countries to see maybe if there are programs out there that are similar that might help them. Well then, my equipment just fell on me. But anyway, so that's how it's going to go today. But anyway, so I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, let's go ahead and share. And again, I actually had reached out to our niece who lives in Michigan because she has a son with some severe special needs. And I told her to look and see if they have anything like this in the state of Michigan. Because I've been on this journey with Bryce 8 years since his autism, really 10 years with his life. And I didn't understand what this was all about until I actually went and attended. And I know you went last year and you came back full of information, excited about it, wanting me and Bryce to be able to go, the following year, which was this year. But I think until you attend it, it's hard to really grasp what all is there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of breakout sessions. And like you said, a lot of different state agencies attend it. And so if you have questions about insurance or the Medwaiver or anything that has to do with any kind of benefits for disability, it's a disability conference, and so they have a big exhibit hall where kids get to do things that they might not normally be able to do, like hold an alligator or do some archery or some other fun games with other people. They also have exhibitors that have their own businesses. So people with special needs that have their own businesses, maybe they do art or other types of things, and they display those for purchase. And then you have like the insurance companies, they have booths, the doctors have booths, attorneys have booths, the state agencies have booths. So whatever kind of information you're looking for, you can go to their booth and they can answer your questions. Like sometimes with government agencies, it's hard to get answers because it's such a large entity, and you rarely get to the right person that you really want to talk to.
That's true.
It's a really good place to
learn.
Yes. Oh, they're doing karaoke, I think,
We have a neighbor that they've been quite loud lately, and it's right behind our room where we do our podcast. It's been a little distracting.
Yep.
Hopefully y'all won't hear it, but if we pause, it's probably because we're hearing something coming
It is bad karaoke, so
yeah, it's not even good. It's not enjoyable.
Anyway, so
anyway,
they have different classes that you can take about different subjects, like special needs trusts or you might attend one where like there was one on music, how music is helpful. And
yeah, I kind of want to talk about the ones I attended.
Go for it.
So this year, because the three of us went, you said, I'd like you to go to the classes because I got to do it last year. And it would be difficult to leave Bryce with someone or someplace and us go to different breakout classes. So we did it that way. I will say that it reminded me of like when we've gone to conferences in the past for photography or other business related things, that it was a little overwhelming with so much information. But they did spread it out through the day where your mind could kind of take a break. And I made some good notes. But the classes that I chose, and again, it's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know how the speaker's going to be. You don't know, other than what's going based on a description that you're reading and a title of a class, if it's going to be a hit or a miss. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that I feel like all of mine were hits, except maybe the very first one. But I didn't get completely discouraged because I've had that happen before. But I think the problem with the first one was that there was a little bit, the book was mentioned a little too much that this particular speaker had written, and she kept reading from her book. Mm-hmm. And so that was a lesson for me that, you learn what not to do as well what to do, because we've talked about possibly speaking at conferences to help families. I won't be reading from her book. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I did pick up the 12 habits that she mentioned for raising capable kids. And her heart was in the right place. What she's trying to say is don't underestimate what your kids are capable of. Because even though they may not be able to articulate what they're thinking all of the time, the way that you would want to hear it, they're probably more likely capable of things than you give them credit for. And so I'll just read off these habits, and then if any of these spark your interest, then you can look up her book. But habit 1 was believe that effort creates ability. Number 2, listen to your child. Lean into their natural curiosities to build agency, skills, and have fun. Habit number 3, set a vision of capable with your child and adjust it over time. So in that, it's kind of like, think about what you want them to be capable of. So you have a vision, and then as you need to adjust it, you adjust it, but at least you feel like you're working together towards something instead of just the unknown all the time. I think it just gives more courage and hope. And the Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. Mm-hmm. So, you should set some type of vision. Habit number 4, put the diagnosis in its place. Your child is a kid first. So yes, while your child may have diagnosis or labels, however you want to put it, just remember they're still a kid, and do the fun things with them. Make sure you have a healthy balance of getting them the therapies or the treatments that they need, but let them also be a kid, I appreciate that. Habit number 5, name your fears and use your vision of capable to help tame them. Habit number 6, use words and act in ways that let your child know that you think they are capable. And that kind of goes back to a podcast we did a few months ago about the power of words. And I think, I'm talking to you here too, we have to be aware of conversations that we're having when Bryce is within our earshot or within earshot of us speaking, because I don't want him to ever hear us say anything that might make him think that he's not capable of doing certain things.
Yeah.
Because we might be talking to each other, or we might be talking to someone else about him. And that boy is always tuned in and always listening. Even if you think he's not listening, believe me, he's listening. Mm-hmm. So I think it is really important, the words that we use around our children, and even among ourselves, but especially when they can hear us, that we don't say anything that deflates their capabilities or what they think they're capable of. Habit number 7, set the expectation that others treat your child as capable. So I think that's really important, because whether you have your child in a school and there's teachers involved, whether you have your child in therapies and there's therapists involved, whether it's just a caregiver of some sort, a babysitter of some sort, a family member of some sort. It's really important that you kind of set the expectation that your child is capable of many things. Because if they see that you believe it, then they're more likely to believe it. But if you're doubting your child and you're not letting them attempt things or try things, and you're always doing everything for them, then other people are less likely to treat them in ways that lets them reach their full potential. And you can chime in anytime you want, because I know you weren't in the class. But habit number 8, challenge your child with some support in ways that regularly take them out of their comfort zone. And habit number 9, walk alongside professionals to help your child learn how they learn best and to get them the support and services that they need. And that's another important one I was just saying. We should always be in communication with everyone that's helping our child and working together as a team and getting feedback from them and giving them feedback. Like right now, we've had it brought to our attention that Bryce is having some struggles with his balance. So with that communication, what have you been doing to help him more with his balance specifically?
I've been doing some ankle exercises with him because I think it's muscle related. So we're working on that, and he seems to be improving.
Yep. And so we kind of get feedback every day. We're taking the muscle approach first because we're hoping and praying that it's more muscle related and not neurological.
And it's easier.
So that's what we're working on there. But, again, it's that feedback of what they're doing with him, what we're doing with him, and how we can all work together. Habit number 10, allow your child to make choices and experience the consequences of those choices. So that's kind of interesting because today's church lesson was about choices and consequences.
And we had that this morning.
Yeah, so we had our little church lesson this morning, and then we have a morning routine list for Bryce because Bryce does better with lists. I'm sure that's part of his ADHD. So we've been trying to enforce more that he needs to do certain things before he gets any electronics. And so it's pretty basic, take your shower if you didn't take a bath the night before, get dressed, eat your breakfast, take your supplements, simple stuff like that. And then once that morning routine is done, then you can have your iPad or your Switch or whatever it is that game you're working on. So he was a little sneaky this morning because it does normally require a lot of prompting and to keep him on task. And you and I had stepped out of the room, and then the next thing we know, he was playing the new game that he received yesterday, but he had not finished his suppies. So you took the Switch, right? And then he lost his progress? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so he left the Switch on the bed to go do his stuff, and I turned it off. I saved his progress, but he had to start over at whatever level that he started at. And so we just said that was your consequence of
it was like a great
not
example
listening,
to give him, right?
Yeah. So I didn't intend to do that, but that's what happened when I hit the save button. But
yeah. And then he's like, oh, I lost all my progress. And I said, oh, because you made a choice to play your game before you finished, what was your consequence? And he's like, oh, my progress. I'm like, yeah. So, and he didn't have a meltdown. He didn't get angry at
understood.
us. He didn't break up with us. It's just his new line lately. So, that was good. And I think we have to allow them to make some choices and also experience consequences for those choices. And sometimes it can be something as mild as that. And as they grow with life, they'll learn that there are even more severe consequences. Habit 11, celebrate your child's persistence to build a narrative of strength. And habit number 12, treat yourself with compassion, make mistakes, laugh, and learn from them. And we definitely do that. We have said it's better to laugh than cry. And when things happen, we normally will laugh and then go, what else are you going to do? Laugh about it and we're good. But anyway, so the name of the book is Raising Capable Kids I don't have the author's name on here, but I'm sure that if you Google that and you're interested more and that's something that you think you could benefit from, I'll give her a shout out because I appreciate her time and handing us all of that. Again, when I go into classes like this, and it's probably because I'm a business person, my time is very valuable and I want to glean a lot from it. And I felt like it just wasn't as smooth and organized as I would like it to be. So, it's all good. So that was class number 1. Class number 2, that one really did not disappoint. That one probably gave me more information than I was expecting. And that was the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of SNTs, which is special need trusts. So you and I have had conversations about getting Bryce a special needs trust. One moment, he's at our door. Yes, Bryce. Hey, buddy. Hey, what's up?
I want to say something real quick. I'm gonna send Toad back.
Bye-bye.
Wow, just like Star Trek. You beamed him out of there.
Cool.
All right, close our door, buddy.
So we've talked about getting Bryce a special needs trust. And when should we do that? It's the main thing is that if something were to happen to us together, that Bryce would not lose his benefits. And he would lose his benefits if he inherited a large amount that exceeds $2,000 in his name. So we would need everything to go into the trust. So I think what I got out of that was there are some options. There's different kinds of trust. I would encourage any parent who's thinking about that just to kind of do your own research, go to an attorney. That's what was nice about this particular convention is we didn't have to schedule an attorney consultation or pay for any of that. We could go and we could ask questions. And there are a few of them there, and I've got their information. And if that's something that you're looking into, you can get your questions answered. I did not know about the 529A ABLE account. Apparently you did, but again, that could have been because you do more research than I do, and you went to the thing last year. I thought it sounded like a good idea, but you don't think it is such a good idea or necessary? You want to talk a little more about that?
Well, the general rule is you don't want the child to have more than $2,000 under their name anywhere, because then they could possibly lose benefits. So basically the ABLE account is like it's like a savings account, a mutual fund account. There's fees associated with it. There's restrictions on it. So my view is, why put your money in somewhere where there's fees and restrictions versus somewhere else where there's not as many restrictions? So you could open up a Vanguard account with very low fees and keep that money in there, and it's only $2,000. So it's you keep it in there, or just invest it in the stock market or something, or just in a money market. In a money market, the money's available, it earns interest, and it's there's no fees. So
okay, so I think like in our situation, you actually enjoy, I think it's probably the right word, looking at the market, making investments, seeing the return on your investments, putting some time and effort into that. I would say other families that's not even their strength or forte at all.
So you open up a Vanguard account.
But then you're trusting Vanguard. I do believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this particular account is comparable to the Florida College Fund account. They've just added, which is 529, they added the A because there are some children that possibly won't go to college. And that's definitely where a lot of our kids with disabilities, learning disabilities or special needs fall under that. So they could still have the benefit of a tax shelter account, which falls into that. That would not be Vanguard. My understanding is it's kind of similar, like a 401k for us, for work, that it's got tax shelters to it. It earns money for you. You can only use it for certain things. And there are annual caps, and then there are lifetime caps. And I don't believe that affects his $2,000, if I was reading that right. It can go up to certain amounts. But anyway, you asked me to trust you on this and that it's something we don't need to do. And I have no problem with that. But I felt like it might be beneficial to other families. So I wanted to put it out there and encourage you to look into that. And again, I don't know if it's called 529A in every state or if that's just Florida's label for it. But I would say that you could, do some Google research and be able to find something out there, or look up ABLE account, ABLE. And we did take away from that because we had an account set up for Bryce. And was that in his name? The one that you're putting? Yeah. So we had set up an account that we had $25 a month just automatically going into his account. Something that we wouldn't think about, something that could go into an investment and grow over time and build up. And then I thought, well, maybe we should go ahead and take that out of his name so that we don't affect his Medwaiver, which he does have, by having more than the $2,000. So I thought, that's good. We also had one of our friends get I-bonds in his name. And so now I'm like, oh, well, if he has those I-bonds out there and that goes over $2,000, that could affect his waiver. So I felt like we got nuggets out of that to be like, whoa, okay, now we just kind of know what to watch, how to watch it. And I wouldn't have had, that would not have crossed my mind otherwise. So I think it's always good to be on your toes about these finances and how they affect your children. And as they get older, especially, when you're in the earlier years, believe me, you're thinking about so many other things that a special needs trust, when you have both parents and not just one, or, setting up financial accounts or worrying about guardianship, it's kind of not the highest priority. But as your child gets older, then you start thinking about these other things. And I do know this particular convention here for the Family Cafe, we know some families that were there because they are into that guardianship window. And so it's a place where you can go and get a lot of answers for that. We're not there yet, but it's nice to know that we will have these resources when it's time.
Yeah, so I don't even know if we defined what a special needs trust is, but basically, if both parents pass, then the trust takes over for the child or the adult. And so you set up the rules as to how that money is spent on the person with special needs, and you pick the trustee, I think. So like who's going to handle the trust after you're gone. So that's something that we're considering because, we don't know if Bryce is going to be able to live on his own. We don't know if he's going to be able to have, be able to support himself. So that's when you need to start looking at something like a special needs trust. If he was, if we thought he was able-bodied and that he was going to be, have a regular job and be successful and have his own place, then we wouldn't worry too much about that. I'm
processing all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's able-bodied as much as it is if I can see that Bryce will be able to have a job. I really believe he will. Actually, he's got that capability of having a good job because he's got, I don't know, the things that he enjoys and really loves. If we put him in the right spot, he could definitely have income. But just because you can do a job or you can earn income doesn't mean that you can live on your own. Doesn't mean that you'll be able to do all the things that you need to take care of yourself without somebody prompting or reminding you. He may even be able to drive, but just because he can drive and because he can earn pay doesn't mean that he would be capable of living on his own. So yeah, there's a lot of things to factor in there, and Bryce is 10, so we don't know yet. I think we can agree that we weren't sure where he would be at 10, and we were hoping that some of these things would be off the table for concerns, but they're still on the table because we don't know. But we still see progress. We still see so much ability and capabilities within him. And so, yeah, we just don't know. And I think that we're just being proactive instead of reactive by learning all of these things in advance. And I would say that if someone is listening to our podcast, they're more proactive than reactive, because that's why they are finding podcasts. That's why they are reading materials. That's why they are trying to get answers and learn all that they can about, autism, ADHD, auditory processing, all these other things that kind of go hand in hand with neurodivergency, so that they can be better prepared and be able to help whatever loved one, is in their life that has those needs. So yes, so that was a lot to take in. It's actually a lot to share, but it's something that I would encourage each parent to at least have on their radar. So that was my second class. And then the third class of the day was entitled Disability and the Faith Community. And that one really got my attention because I have been talking to you a lot about what we can do to help churches to serve the special needs community better. And I did not realize what a hot topic that was until I started giving it my own time and attention. And I'm very happy to report that there seems to be a lot of people who are recognizing this and really trying to work together to come alongside churches and to help them know how to serve our community, that has special needs and disabilities in a better way. So we'll be talking more about this on future podcasts. But I was really excited to go to this class, and the lady who taught the class, her name is Marie, and they had a son who lived to be 4 years old with his special needs. And she said that her church community rallied around them so much and helped them so much. And they learned so much about the special needs community in general, that even after their son passed, they knew that they wanted to kind of remain involved and pay it forward. So they're based out of Orlando. The name of their organization is Nathaniel's Hope. They do a large gathering once a year to celebrate their son's birthday. They used to do it in June on his birthday, but with the weather here that's unpredictable in June, they moved it up. I think they do it in May now, either April or May. But anyway, they had, I think she said, maybe it was tens of thousands of people that turned out to celebrate his birthday this past year. And it just keeps growing. And somebody donated them land so that they can create their own city called Hopeland. And it's going to accommodate and service families and adults with special needs and disabilities so that they can have jobs, so that they can have employers there that are going to help them. They have the big vision, I feel like a lot of people have the vision for the younger children, but it's the ones that as they get older and they get into their double digits, and as they get into their teens and then they age out of schools, and it's like, well, what's next? What do? Do they just go in group homes? No, we want more for them. And so I'm really happy to see that we have a lot of trailblazers ahead of us that are recognizing this and will create more opportunities for Bryce when he gets to his teens and into his 20s. But I would encourage you to check out their website. It's called Nathaniel's Hope. I think it's .org. And one thing she said in the class, it was a lot of information, but she said that if churches could have ISPs, which is an individual spiritual plan, which is kind of comparable to an IEP, which is the individual education plan that they have at schools, it would be helpful to the people working at the church to know what do you really want for your child when they go to church. And I think that's important. It's important regardless of your child's abilities or disabilities. But when you have a child that processes information differently, maybe at a slower pace, maybe in a different way because they're more literal, it's good to know what the goals are and to have those goals set. So I did a little Google research, and then I found that, oh, good, I would be recreating the wheel. There's a lot of resources and tools out there, but I found one that I was comfortable with, that I created an ISP for Bryce. That's kind of simple, but I'm going to be sharing that with the lady who oversees our children's ministry at church. I have a meeting scheduled with her, and I really want to get more involved in the church to kind of help that way. And so I printed it out. Basically, it's got like allergy medical info, things that he likes, things that he dislikes, which is important to know. Like in his case, he doesn't like unexpected loud noises like clapping, whistling, screaming, latex balloons. He doesn't like writing sentences. Things like that they should know, because they may get some resistance or a strong reaction from him and they wouldn't know why. But I thought and I put in there like spiritual goals for him. And so, again, this is something I kind of work on, but I just put, my goal for Bryce is to hear that Jesus loves him. I would love for him to be able to repeat the Bible memory verse each week with motions to help his memorization, which he's been doing. I would love him to be able to identify by name some friends and helpers at church. And I will say that that's still a struggle for him. We've been there a year and he still can't tell me the name of one child in the room. He just says because they're different every time. But some of those kids have been there the whole time.
What about the helpers? Can he tell you who they are?
The only helpers that he can, actually, he didn't even remember Mr. Dwayne by name. He just said, the man who tells the story. And I said, yeah. And he goes, and the lady who tells the story. And then I'm like, Miss Gina? Yeah, Miss Gina. And then I said, Mr. Dwayne? Yeah, Mr. Dwayne. None of his teachers, none of the leaders, are in his 3 to 5 classroom. So no, none of it's stuck, but I would like him to, so why? I don't know. Is it because it just isn't repeated to him enough? Is it because like at our church, it's every other week that you serve, so he doesn't see them every single week? But anyway, that hasn't stuck, and that's a goal, I think is a good goal. And then I would love for him to develop a friendship. He has yet to do that. So that's a goal. And I, as I said, develop a friendship, not looking for the whole room. I would love him to have one friend in the classroom at church. Learn the words and motions to songs that we sing, and pray out loud with scripting and prompting, which we're trying to help him at home to pray out loud. And again, we give him a script and some prompts, and that helps him, but that teaches him how to pray. So those were some spiritual goals that I put down, and then some additional info that I thought would be helpful for somebody not knowing Bryce. Let's just say they were to see him the first time. Bryce wears headphones to reduce his anxiety about unexpected loud noises. He also has anxiety about attending family services in the auditorium. He has a hard time sitting still for long periods of time due to ADHD. He also processes information slowly due to his ADP, which is his auditory, or I should put APD, auditory processing disorder. Yeah. So I just think I see this from two perspectives. I see it from being a parent of a child with special needs now, while I don't want to clothe him in labels when he goes someplace, I do think that it's helpful if whoever's working with him has some key pertinent information about him. He's Bryce, but he's Bryce with some things that maybe don't apply to all the other kids. And then get to know Bryce. You know what I'm saying? Don't just think, oh, he's autistic. No, he's Bryce who just has some sensory things, but loves this. I put all his likes in there. But some things that he doesn't like that are really important to know. And I'm also coming from the perspective of someone who has worked in children's ministry since I was a teenager. And I think it would be helpful to know these things in advance because most of the time I'm kind of doing a guessing game. I'll have a new child come in. I'll be like, I wonder because I'm seeing certain things, but I don't know. And then the parent will tell me, I'll be like, great. Then I can reassure them, I get it. My son has it too, I'll take good care of them. So I think it's a two-way street and that it's a win-win when the people who are taking care of the child have more information, and it's definitely a win for the family because their child will be better taken care of.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like an elephant in the room where nobody's talking about it, because it's not going to benefit the child or the adult with special needs if the people who are there with him or her don't know what they like and what they don't like, or what could happen in this situation or that situation, It's just good information to know all around.
It is. And one of the things that I'm going to talk to our ministry leader when we meet up is that I think it would be helpful if the parents, especially the parents who have children with special needs, have an idea of the agenda in advance, like anything that could be a potential sensory related issue. So I had told you that last week we had this story, and it happened to be my time to be serving, which was a good thing actually. And so I was in the treehouse with Bryce, and the story was about Joshua and the walls of Jericho. So the teacher was giving an example of how sound can make things move. So he had a straw and a glass bottle, and so they had invited a child to come up to the front to kind of do a demonstration and wanted her to yell or be as loud as she possibly could to see if she can make the straw move. Well, if you heard my ISP for Bryce, unexpected loud sounds, whistles, anything like that, that could trigger him. So when I understood what was about to happen, he happened to be sitting in the row in front of me. So, and he had his headphones, but I said to him, they're going to be loud noises. She's going to yell or scream or whistle, because they were saying, yell, scream, whistle, do whatever you have to do. I'm hearing that and I'm going ding, 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 ding. So I said, do you want to leave the room or do you want to stay? And I only had a few seconds to get a response out of him because the wheels were in motion and the girl was going up front. But because I was able to tell him that, then he says, no, I'll be okay. I'll risk for it, which is what he'll always say. I said, all right. So I think because I was there to actually say it, it prepped him. And again, he had his headphones and she did scream really loud. The straw did not move, but he did okay with it. But, that could have been an ugly situation and they would have had no idea that was coming, why it happened, what to do with him. But had I known that was what was going to happen in advance, well in advance, then I would have been able to prep Bryce. And so we actually had the same situation for this week. They were going to have a water splash Sunday. And then when I asked about it, they said that there were going to be water balloons and 600 of them, as a matter of fact. And that used to be a trigger for Bryce. but I reminded him that they don't really make loud noises. They're okay because they have water in them. And so he was okay with that. But again, that could have been a major trigger for him. So I just feel like the more we can inform these parents in advance, the better it would be. And that's something I'm going to actually volunteer to take on, is like, if you feed me the information, then I can put it into a sensory, of like a format of an email to the parents if they're on that list, if they want to be on that list. And maybe parents don't want to be on the list or don't feel like they need to be, and that's okay. But for those like myself who want to be, then they could be informed. So I'm just trying to think of ideas and tools that are going to help the families who run into these situations like ours. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I just said it's good to know all this information when you're coming to church, what the needs of the child are, or the adult with special needs. That's it's important.
Yep. So anyway, again, I know we'll be talking more about this, but that was one thing I took specifically from the Family Cafe, did my research on it, found something that made me happy, to be able to use for Bryce, and we'll see if we can implement it into the church somehow. And then, and I will say that I also sent a note to our head pastor yesterday. I reached out to him for something else, but I told him I was going to be meeting with the children's minister, and I know why I reached out to him now. But anyway, so he's excited, and he says, I'm 100% on board for doing whatever we can to help these families. So I said, there's only going to be more coming to the church, and I want to help, get the right tools in place. So I think knowing that the head of our church is 100% on board goes a long, long way, and that makes me really happy about that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest hurdle, is getting the pastor on board for that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about it, because actually I'm going to meet with him in August. I hadn't had a chance to tell you this yet, but I figure I'll be taking you along with me.
Yeah. But
it'll be good. So we can meet with him. We can kind of share, what our vision is and what our concerns are and what we'd like to see happen. And I'm really excited that we're going to be doing some brainstorming and team building together with the pastors and the leaders in our church. So the next class that I took it's called CDC Plus program. So this is kind of the state of Florida, but I'm sure that at least each state in the United States has their own government programs in place, and that's something you'll do your research on. In our case, I get confused with all the acronyms. And
so Bryce is on the Medwaiver, and Medwaiver provides respite support for us in the amount of hours through respite providers. And so there's a branch of that that's called CDC Plus, and CDC Plus is where you don't have to go through another agency to get respite. You are your own agency, and you can provide your own respite, because a lot of these families, including ours, I can't work a full-time job because Bryce is my other full-time job, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you can't get out there and work because somebody's got to take care of Bryce all the time. Mm-hmm. So CDC Plus is a way that we can get reimbursed for doing the respite for Bryce, if you will.
Reimburse is the right word, but pay,
or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so it has been a lot of red tape, a lot of confusion, trying to get all of that. And I you keep saying to me, welcome to my world, because hats off to you. You've taken on all this paperwork and the research and getting him on the Medwaiver, all of that while I was working full time. But that was one thing I wanted to relieve you of some of these burdens. So you passed the baton to me last fall. Last September, I saw the paperwork. I did all my testing. I did everything that I was advised to do and still kept hitting brick walls. So I was super happy that I got names, contact information, phone numbers of people who are in this agency, that if I hit any more walls, I have someone I can go to. And to me, that was a large...
It's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, that was a large reason that was worthy of attending right there.
Yeah.
Because I do have people now that will be able to help me if I hit one more wall. So,
It's like his scholarship. Like, I have a reimbursement request in there right now that's been in there for 2 months. And it's waiting for what they call a learning specialist review. And it wasn't a high dollar item. I forget what it even was at this point. But I went to their booth in the exhibit hall or whatever it was. And I said, look, I need help, and they're like, oh, we'll just go through the chat on the website. Well, I've already done that, and they're limited to what they can do, right? And I've already emailed, already done all that things, and you're left helpless. So I said to the lady, I just need help with this thing, and the program isn't the best run program. And she knew that when she was giving me her business card, she said to me, she says, you have to swear an oath to me that you will not share my information on social media. And there's a reason for that, because she would be bombarded with questions and people looking for help, because this particular program isn't the best working machine, right? And when you get into government agencies and things like this, that's what you'll find. It's not a smooth running machine.
No.
There's department upon department upon department, and they don't just have one department for one thing, right? There's multiple agencies that are in control of whatever you're trying to do.
And I always chime in to their defense, the government. There are a lot of people who play games to try to get more money from our government than they're entitled to. So I think that's what creates a lot of these issues for people like us who are saying, I don't want anything more than I'm entitled to. I'm not playing games. I'm being completely honest, but yet I'm still having struggles because I'm being advised to do this in order to get this. And no, I just want to get whatever I'm entitled to. Whatever that is, give it to me. Because in the meantime, I'm getting jack squat.
Right.
And, I'm sure there are a lot of people that do play the games and get advised that way. And that's why it's become a wonky system.
Yeah.
But anyway, having said that, it was worth going because you got your contact for the scholarship. I got my contact for the CDC Plus. I do believe it may take less than a year and we'll have that in place, before September comes of 2024, which will be a big blessing to our family. So anyway.
Was that your last class?
The last one I did was actually the magic of music and early intervention. And that one, I told you I probably enjoyed that the most because that was more lighthearted and it wasn't hurting my brain. And it happened to be, by chance, a family that is from our city, which I didn't realize that. This mom attended the conference last year, and then she was like, wow, I think we could share our story and it would be well received. But her daughter was nonverbal, I think, until 5. She got her involved in music, and it really brought out another side of her. And her daughter plays like 3 different instruments, and she loves to sing. And so she was there. She's 15 now. She sang a couple of songs. She had her violin. She played another instrument, which I'm drawing a blank. But it was really uplifting, encouraging. And, we've seen what a difference music and early intervention has made for Bryce. And I think it's good when you go to these conferences, too, that there be some class options of stories of hope with actual families and not just agencies and attorneys and people filling your head with all this other information. You know what I mean? It was like, it was a good way to end it for me. Like,
Yeah,
yay.
and we were able to get Bryce into a kid's Zumba class, which he really enjoyed, and it's really good for his coordination. So I think we need to do more of that. And then they had this other room for technology that we really enjoyed. That it had different musical instrument things. It had AI art designing software. They had robots.
You
they
had that 3D card?
They had a dinosaur. You hold the card under the camera and it turns it into 3D. And it tells you about the dinosaur. They had these magnifiers. So like if you're coloring, it would magnify your coloring book up on the screen and you could see yourself coloring better. So like if you have struggle between the lines, then you could use this magnifier. And it had some really great tools and manipulatives for kids with special needs, and we had a lot of fun there. I think we almost closed them down. We were there for like an hour.
Yeah. It was a overall very good conference that we gleaned some nuggets, and we had some family time together, which was nice, and we were able to enjoy the pool, and they had the water slide there, and other kids were there, and we just saw how happy they were. How many people attended? I think we mentioned that
over
last time.
30,000.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Bad doggy cutscene.
Okay.
Get ready for it. I got the key. I got it.
So Bryce, tell him what game you just got.
I'm Luigi's Mansion 2.
With his own money, he bought this.
Yes, watch. This is it.
Whoa. Oh, somebody took the key.
This is the one.
Oh, no. What's going to happen to the key? Is he eating it?
Did you hear? No.
Yeah,
I heard no.
Bad doggy.
I heard that.
Okay.
So, I was going to read this letter that was in the Family Cafe book from our governor. I have a couple of funny things about Bryce stories, and then I'm ready to wrap. Is there anything else you want to share before I do that?
No,
You're good to go? Okay. So, again, every state is different, and I know we elect our officials, but I'm pretty pleased that we have Governor DeSantis in our state, which is probably why our state, everybody's moving here and we're getting overcrowded. But besides that, it says, "Dear friends, welcome to the 26th Annual Family Cafe. I hope your time in Orlando allows you to connect with Floridians across the state and learn more about our many services available to those with disabilities. As governor, I will continue to ensure every Floridian has access to high-quality services to create a pathway for everyone to live up to their God-given potential and realize the American dream. Florida has taken action by providing resources like First Lady Casey DeSantis' Hope Florida initiative, which embraces the importance of community partnership and supporting individuals with disabilities. I appreciate all those who have dedicated their lives to care for others, and I send my best wishes as you enjoy this fantastic event. Sincerely, Ron DeSantis." And I thought that is just great, and that is our goal, is to help all of these children, people, adults with disabilities to reach their God-given potential. And so that's what we'll continue to do, and it was just a great thing. So I hope you guys can glean something from all that we shared there. Now, a couple funny things, at least they're funny in our minds, but the Bryce. Now, the other night, Bryce was in our bedroom with us, and we've really been trying to get him to sleep in his room and not in our king-size bed because he's a growing boy and he's getting taller, and it's just there's not a lot of space for three of us. So I think you said to him, "Bryce, you're getting too big to sleep in our bed with us. You got to sleep in your bed." And so he said, "Oh, I need to make a potion that will make me smaller so I can keep sleeping in your bed." I don't know where he got the potion. I'm sure it's from one of his games, but Anyway, he's very quick. He's very quick-witted on that kind of stuff, and it cracked me up.
We can get him to sleep in his bed. It's just that one of us has to be there when he falls asleep. That's all. And
I know.
He's very good about staying there once he's asleep. So
He is. He
Yeah.
stays there. But if we gave him a choice,
he'd be in our bed every night if we gave him a choice. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, it was pretty funny. And then the other little conversation was for my birthday, Bryce was able to stay the night at my parents' house, which was nice. And so my mom drives a Nissan, and she was taking him to the grocery store. And so she doesn't know the backstory, but here's what she said to me. She goes, so when I took him to the grocery store, he was in the back. He was quiet as a church mouse. And so I said, Bryce, you okay back there? Oh, shoot. Here comes Bryce again. Hold on. What, honey?
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, so she said, Bryce, are you okay back there? And he said, yeah. How long have you had this car? And she said, well, I've had it for a while now. He goes, have you had any problems with it? She's like, no, it's been a good car for me. Papa bought it for me, and it's a good car. And you've never had any problems with it? She said, nope, it's been a good car. She said, he paused and went, all right, I guess this Nissan is reliable. So you'd have to know the backstory and tell them the backstory with why Bryce would make a comment like that.
Oh, well, Bryce is obsessed with Teslas. And so one day I told myself, like, well, Teslas aren't very reliable. You know, you want a reliable car when you grow up. You want something that it's not going to break down on you and leave you somewhere stranded. So he's like, what do you mean, Daddy? So I brought up a chart, and it has green, yellow, orange, and red. So if your car's in red, it's really not reliable. But if it's up in the green, then it's reliable. So I think Tesla was in the yellow or the orange. And Nissan was where?
He said orange.
Orange.
Because we asked him.
And so he must have took a photograph of that in his mind and has that chart filed away somewhere. And so when he got into Mamaw's Nissan, he probably went to that chart and said, what are the chances of us breaking down?
That's exactly it.
And he was probably concerned about it.
That's why he was
he was so quiet. He was thinking about all those things. Is this car going to be reliable enough to go to the store and back?
That's it.
So, yeah, that was funny.
Yes. And we both drive Toyotas, and it's in the green. So he's very comfortable in our vehicles. But
yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Bryce right there. All right. Well, I think we're caught up on that.
We're caught up on the Family Cafe.
Yep. And we have some other topics that'll be coming up. Like, we're still doing this book about how to have a thriving marriage when you're raising children with disabilities. Again, I think it's good to have a thriving marriage regardless of your child's abilities or disabilities. But obviously it takes more of a toll on marriages like ours. And it's been really good. And so we're planning to share some more from that. And I'm sure we'll just be sharing life in general. And again, some more stuff with the churches. But thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate it.
Yep. If you Google Family Cafe, it should come up and you can learn more about it there.
But for now, we're going to
signing off.
Sign
Talk
off.
to you later.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.